turn impossibilities into possibilities. This is the foundation that led me, okay, to focus on living rather than dying, to end hopelessness into hope. If I truly love myself, if a person really loves themselves, want to live long, what action would you be taking today? Every once in a while you have a temporary setback. If you really care about yourself, if you want to take care of the self, the gift of life that God has bestowed upon you, what decision would you want to make?
What if aging isn't about slowing down, but leveling up? I'm Dr. Isaac Jones. This is the Longevity Leaders Podcast.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the Longevity Leader Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Rudy Mueller, and today we have Dr. Serge Francois with us. Now, he has one of the most amazing stories, and I will let him tell it, but I really would love for you to share with our listeners, which include doctors, patients, lay people, biohackers, what really brought you into this industry of natural health, and what kind of changes you experienced when integrating this into your life.
Well, you come to a point in your life where you feel like the soil beneath you crumble, okay? And that happened to me almost 2 decades ago when I was diagnosed with severe congestive heart failure, when I was told that I will not survive more than 6 months without a heart transplant. That was a very surreal experience in my life, when you can even imagine a future when you are raising 4 kids and have a family in life.
You said 20 years ago?
20 years, almost 2 decades ago. So it's been 18 years. So it's almost 2 decades ago. So, and of course, at that moment, you experience fear. Okay. And, fast forward, gradually, I've gone to the pain, the experience, the stress, the waking up, going to bed at night, not knowing that you're going to wake up the next day. And I said, no, I refuse to accept that as my fate. So therefore, I developed a mental resiliency to fight, okay? To turn hopelessness into hope, to turn impossibilities into possibilities. This is when I start researching about regenerative medicine, okay? Because I know the human body has an inherent, extraordinary ability to heal itself, okay? I traveled the world to find all the solutions necessary to reverse my condition. Now, 2 decades later, at 70, I'm running 30, 40 miles a week. I'm not just survive, I'm thriving. Okay? I work out, 3 days a week. Not just workout, CrossFit workout. Of course, until recently, I was involved in a recent accident that kind of slowed me down. But I'm gradually getting back. Yeah.
So it really started with the mindset as being the key piece for you. And after hearing that, that you had congestive heart failure, that giving you an estimate of 6 months to live, you felt like the big turning point was getting your mindset right.
If you're a medical doctor, nurse practitioner, chiropractor, or other health expert that's stuck in a broken system, there's a better way. The Freedom webinar shows you a proven 5-step system to build a 7-figure virtual health practice, or how to modernize your current brick and mortar practice without the burnout. Learn to create high-ticket programs, automated income, residual revenue, and attract clients ready to work with you. Book your $1 million strategy session today by clicking the link in the description.
Absolutely. You have, because of course, any human being at that phase, okay, you'll be circumvented by fear, the fear of dying. I know how it feels, not able to walk across a room without gasping for air, afraid to go to bed at night, okay? Not knowing whether you're going to have a future, okay? When I decided that, no, I refuse to accept that as my destiny, I refused to accept fear to be the architect of my destiny. So therefore, gradually I began to develop a resilient mindset. Okay, that's the first foundation. This is the reason I've just written a book. The title of the book, The First Step to Healing After Heart Failure, is to cultivate a resilient mindset. This is the foundation that led me, okay, to focus on living rather than dying, to end hopelessness into hope.
Did you have a background, like whether it be as an athlete or any evidence like from your life prior to that, the delivery of the message of cardio or congestive heart failure 6 months ago, where you were focused on mindset, or was this something that was just, I know that this is where I need to start?
Healthcare is changing, and many clinicians are looking for ways to deliver more personalized, forward-thinking care while building practices that can adapt and grow with that change. Disrupt Clinical 2026 brings together practitioners who want to combine emerging longevity science with practical models for how medicine can be delivered sustainably, effectively, and with greater professional autonomy. Join us April 10th through 12th, 2026 in Hollywood, Florida for 3 immersive days focused on integrating advanced diagnostics, preventative and regenerative strategies, and care frameworks around longevity and prevention and cause-based medicine designed for where healthcare is leading next. Alongside clinical insights, we'll explore operational systems and practice approaches that support better outcomes for patients while creating a more resilient, future-ready practice. You'll hear directly from clinicians already applying these models and helping shape the next phases of healthcare delivery, who are generating 7, 8, and even 9 figures in revenue. If you're ready to expand what's possible in your work and participate in the evolution of modern medicine, Disrupt Clinical 2026 is where that conversation becomes action. We're going to sell out of the event very soon. So go ahead and click the link to learn more and reserve your seat.
I've always been, of course, my background, I went to both medical school and chiropractic school. Okay. This is the reason my practice has already been into integrative medicine. So I've already had that foundation, and I've worked out with a lot of different athletes, and I've been to 3 Olympics treating track athletes. And from there, I can see how those athletes can turn, the stress, they go to the physical and mental stress. They don't think about giving up. They focus on the goal. They don't focus just on getting a medal. Every single athlete. So that helped me along the way to establish that kind of foundation. And number 2, from my background, both in the chiropractic world and traditional medicine world, when those 2 comes together, it helped me to establish a foundation. Okay, to know that I've always known that the human body has an extraordinary ability to heal itself. All I have to do is find the answer, how to reverse those conditions. So that provides me with the foundation how to move forward.
Yeah, and so the catalyst for the entire thing was your experience with understanding the chiropractic philosophy, traditional medicine, working with athletes that you've shown mindset in action and being able to integrate that mindset. And so I love the title of your book, as it definitely narrows down like the congestive heart failure or cardiovascular events and being able to help those individuals. But mindset across the board, no matter what thing, whether it be business, whether it be athletics, whether it be overcoming any health situation. Would you agree it's the foundation?
No, it's the foundation. You have to develop that mindset. You have to eradicate fear. You always have to focus on winning. Just to let you know, before I was diagnosed with my heart condition, I've always wanted to live to be 101. You hear that? I've always wanted to live 101. Okay? Until after I was diagnosed, I realized that I was a wishful thinker. I was a wishful thinker.
Mm.
And then after I was diagnosed, when I began to focus on the future, on living rather than dying, okay? And I made a decision. My goal, my plan is to live to be 110. Planning and wishing is two different phenomena,
Mm.
okay? Now, I'm living every day. What I do every day, I do it with intention. The intention is to live a life full of vitality and longevity, rather than focus. Otherwise, if you live, with intention, every day that you wake up, whatever that you do is geared toward reaching that goal. And this is the reason I've developed a 3-part pillars in my health coaching process.
Mm.
Okay. That transformation journey led me to develop a health coaching process to help individuals who are struggling with cardiovascular disease. Okay, the same process that I've used to reverse my condition, now you have people from all over the world using the same process, okay, to reverse their condition, to turn hopelessness into hope, and to become joyful, to have a totally different mindset when it comes to the future, when it comes to longevity, when it comes to life.
Beautiful. And so I've got based on what you just said, I'm curious, what are your 3 pillars for your health coaching process when working with people with cardiovascular disease?
Well, the first process the first pillar is to be able to realize the foundation, the root cause of your condition. Okay? And the root cause typically is based on each person's condition is totally unique.
Sure.
It's totally unique. And it's always based on, inflammatory markers. You have to identify the root cause of these conditions. Okay? That's the first step. The second step is to do advanced research based on the person's condition, not using traditional lab, but functional lab to determine, okay, what causing their condition, whether it's inflammatory process, whether it's some heavy metal toxicity, mycotoxin, whether it's gut health, okay? And the third part is to develop that mindset. And this is when the coaching comes in, okay, to develop a plan, not temporarily, but a plan a person can use to whatever the age they are. If a person is 50, okay, whether they want to live to be 80, 90, 100, okay, to go through that process with them to develop those foundation, okay, to focus on the future. Otherwise, to develop that resilient mindset.
And so when you're coaching that third pillar and, through your own experience in changing your mindset, I heard you mention language as being a strong piece to this, wishing versus planning.
Yes.
Right. Besides language, and language could be obviously an important piece to changing your mindset, how you talk to yourself. But I'm curious as you're going through that third pillar and your coaching mindset, or you're catching yourself throughout the day, potentially dropping into a poor mindset, what are some of the strategies, like the take homes that a person can utilize? What are the things we have to observe in our own thinking?
Well, it's actually a very, very simple question. If I truly love myself, if a person really loves themselves, want to live long, what action would you be taking today? Every once in a while you have a temporary setback.
I like that.
If you really care about yourself, if you want to take care of the self, the gift of life that God had bestowed upon you, what decision would you want to make? Every once in a while you are human. Every once in a while you have setback. You get in that depressive mindset, whether you really going to reach that goal.
Mm.
But if you really care about yourself, if you really love yourself, what decision would you want to make today?
Such a beautiful filter. A
Yeah.
simple one.
It's a very simple one.
Yeah.
If I care about myself, would I allow myself, okay, to allow fear to overcome my thinking process, to allow fear to become the architect of my destiny? Every once in a while, you'll get, it doesn't matter who you are, you go to that process. But you have to get out of it. And you have to look back at your past wins to say, no, okay, I'm not going to allow that to become my fate.
Mm-hmm.
To focus on the future. This is the reason that you have to plan. If I'm planning to be 110, what decision would I want to make to change that thinking process or to change that habit and so on? Because lifestyle is very important. Even if you don't feel like waking up to go and work out. If I really care about myself, okay,
What would my action be?
what would my action be? If I really love myself, if I really want to live for my kids, for my grandkids, to leave a legacy, okay, what would my action be at this moment? It's a very simple decision.
Yeah. It makes it simple. I mean, you think about all of the different things from different books that I've read around mindset, whether it be, obviously it's all good information, but habit change and the morning mindset where you're waking up and journaling and doing all of those things. But I like the simplicity of this filter because at any given moment when you're feeling or catching yourself in this moment of, I don't want to do this, even though I know what's best for myself. If you ask yourself that question, that is going to be a phenomenal motivating factor to get your butt in gear.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the reason you have to go to past wins. And you have to remember where you were. Okay, what got you to be here today?
Mm.
When you couldn't walk across the room without gasping for air. Now that you're running, you're breathing, you're living life, you're smiling. Okay, so no, I'm not going to allow that to become my fate.
Yeah, so I'm hearing you say measure backwards in essence, instead of constantly looking at the future and that peak that you're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
Take a moment to reflect on where you've come.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Phenomenal. So out of curiosity, besides mindset, which is obviously the foundation, and you have wonderful information on that, what things were the catalyst for you from a nutrition perspective, lifestyle perspective, supplements, medications that really helped you overcome the congestive heart failure?
No, all of that you have to integrate. It's not just one thing. It's not one size fit all.
Yeah.
Okay. Like for example, when you come to regenerate the human body, you have to use cellular regenerative therapies, peptides, nutrition, and fasting.
Yeah.
It is a process, a step-by-step process, and understand, because now we are living in a world, the technology is available to us. You just need guidance.
Right.
You just need proper guidance to follow making short-term goals and long-term goals.
Yeah. Perfect. And so with the pillared system and the book, is the book available currently?
Yes.
And where can people access that book?
Well, I have a link, to the book. Currently, it's not been published yet.
Okay.
I've just wrote the book just recently. Okay. I can make that available. And also, then people can go to my, website. It's very simple, drsergefrancois.com.
Okay. So SERGE.
Yes.
Serge, FRANCOIS.
Yes.
Okay. .com. All right.
And they can read about my story.
Awesome.
Okay. And they can subscribe to the link of my book. Everybody can get a free download of the book, and people can subscribe for a consultation with me.
Okay.
Okay. To see if number one, if this is if this regenerative process, if what they are looking for, and to see if we are a good fit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, with cardiovascular disease, there's so much information that is laid out within your 3 pillars that's going to help a person get to the root contributing and causal factors. And I'll tell you right now, I would want you as my coach. I mean, that mindset piece right there that you mentioned, I will be taking home with me as well. If I really love myself, what would be the action that I'm doing? How would I treat myself in this given moment? So
Yeah, I would do that. Would you like a lot of negativity?
yeah,
Okay, sometimes it works.
yeah,
It takes works, but you just have to work on it. You have to work on yourself.
right. Awesome.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Francois, for being with us today and sharing your message. I will continue. So one thing I will say is he showed a video of himself working out about 6 months ago, and it was extremely impressive. So to even think that this man experienced congestive heart failure in the past, and is able to do what he's able to do now, if you have any thought process or have been through congestive heart failure or cardiovascular disease and think, I just, because of this injury, I can't get back to where I used to be. There's a living testimony right here that you can get there and beyond and, regain more than you had prior. So
Yes, I'm the epitome. I consider myself to be the epitome
yeah,
of regenerative medicine, of the efficacy
yeah.
and the power and efficacy of regenerative medicine.
And so should we challenge you to a 1-arm push-up right now? No. All right, Dr. Francois. But absolute pleasure to be on here. I don't want to get shown up by a 7-year-old guy. All right. Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
Thanks for listening to the Longevity Leaders podcast. Our Longevity Leaders community is on mission to transform 100 million lives by 2040. If you enjoyed this show, please share this with somebody that you know, especially another doctor or physician, but also click that follow button. Until next time, stay strong and live long.